Hey everybody, it's Betsy Davis with Colorbar, here with Kim Updike.
Hey Betsy, how are you?
I'm amazing. How are you?
I'm doing great. I can't wait to hear all about your trip to Atlanta and the Women in Retail event. Super excited about our guest. So can't wait to hear all about it. I mean, it sounds like an amazing time and a great organization. So I'm a little jealous I wasn't on the invitation list. So let's hear about it.
Yeah, so we were at the Women in Travel and Hospitality last week. And Jennifer DiPasquale, who's joining us today. Jen, hello. Welcome to Colorbar.
Hi, Betsy. Hi, Kim. Thank you for having me. Good to see you both.
Great to see you. So I was saying to Kim before we came on set today that before I even met Jennifer, I was like, who is this woman? Like, she was like, here, pop this, get this, like introducing Patsy and I to all these people. And so then I meet her in person last week. And I'm like, I haven't even met you yet, but I'm a hugger, like, and just went in for the real thing.
Hug. Yeah.
And so what I've quickly learned is that Jen is just a natural connector and networker, and like, she just gives this energy off. So I'm so excited for today's conversation and to learn more, because we are fairly new in knowing each other. So I'm excited to get to know you better and get to know kind of the history of women in retail and women leading travel and hospitality. So without further ado, Miss, introduce yourself to the Colorbar community.
Well, thank you for having me. It's so fun to be with you both. And I know we just had a natural connection last week, so which is so fun. So I am Jennifer DiPasquale. I am the president and co-founder of Women in Retail, Women Leading Travel and Hospitality, and Total Retail. So those are three, for lack of a better word, media brands in the space. Really, we're about building community. And so those are the communities, and I'm happy to tell you more and all about them.
Well, there was definitely community last week. I was there for 2 days and felt it immediately.
Yeah, it was a fun
so
one.
Excited to share that with the audience. But first, I am super curious, because you have created these amazing brands, and we'll talk about it in these communities. But talk about your background and history and kind of what got you here. I'm curious.
The mission of both communities is to champion women, obviously, and offer them leadership development with virtual and live events and peer groups by job function and title and research and learnings and mentorship and all kinds of opportunity. But at the end of the day, like we just said, we're really building community. But there is something really, really special and magical when you put a bunch of like badass women together, in the room. I mean, and that's really how we set it up, is that we really want people to just kind of throw away their titles, competitor, not competitor, vendor partner, retailer or travel and hospitality exec, doesn't really matter. We're all trying to learn from each other, and, everybody has something to learn no matter what stage you are in your career. And that's really what it's about.
So interesting you said that, because a question that I wrote down for you this morning was, what are like 2 or 3 of the top things that you think that you've learned from these wonderful women leaders that you've been able to surround yourself with when you've built these communities?
What have I learned? I mean, what haven't I learned from these women? I think, honestly, like, one of the key things is always be learning. I mean, these women that are so inspiring to us and, such a big part of the community, they're in a constant state of working on themselves, working for the betterment of their teams, taking learnings back constantly. And I think that's just one of the big learnings that I've always learned. I think it pays to be curious, about other people and what can I glean from this, conversation or this leader, on stage or in the room. So I think that's for everyone.
Yeah. I picked up on that at the event as well. Just people were always mentioning, I just finished this book. I just read this.
Yeah.
I just went
people
to this.
People taking notes constantly.
People taking
right?
notes constantly. Yep. Yeah, you could tell that there was just this hunger for enrichment
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a good word too, enrichment. Yeah,
I don't know where that came from because I am not feeling that smart today, but I liked it.
Well, you did well with that
Thank
because
you.
I was like, well, that's what.
We have those moments on occasion where, woo, what just happened?
What
Betsy
just
had a
happened?
moment.
We
I
had
like
a
it.
moment, but it's true, and I love the
You're so
idea
funny.
of building the community, and with that being one of the pillars is, enrichment, and then having those conversations and being able to learn and connect and find, push your own boundaries or see what you've learned new, but create those relationships.
Yeah.
So I think
Find your tribe. I think we said that a couple of times
find your
too while
tribe,
we were there.
One of the cool things that, has come out of the pandemic, especially, I think, is that we're talking about leadership and wellness more transparently, right? Like you don't have to hide the fact that you have kids, or this other aspect of your life that isn't just about the business, And so I love that transparency and looking at yourself as a holistic leader. And so we really try and do that, within our communities. Of course, we want to talk about your business challenges and managing your teams and everything that's going on with the business. But we also want to look at you, from a wellness perspective and from a personal aspect, because again, you're a holistic leader, leading all of these things and managing all of these things in your life. So we really try and, again, look at the big picture for women and try and tackle some of those issues that you're not going to hear at, other conferences, right? Like we really want to level set everybody in the room so that they can have organic discussions around their own wellness.
Yeah. The chief wellness officer for Great
yes.
Wolf Lodge.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love the fact that a corporation has a chief wellness officer.
That title even exists.
No, exactly.
And there's only 4 of them in the country.
I loved that. And we even had a conversation about, she was like, I want to be out there showing companies that this is a role that is needed within our
100%.
organizations. So I was really inspired by even seeing that as a title out.
Well, you said she had a glow about her even.
Well, she sits down beside me and I'm like, your energy is like radiating off of you. And then she tells me what her title is. I'm like, well, no wonder, because you probably meditated and drank all the water and did all the
things that you're supposed to do.
I'm supposed to do that I do like twice a week instead of 7 days a week. But but yes, she did just have this really great energy and space about her.
I mean, and her goal is to have chief wellness officers everywhere, right? So we're gonna definitely have follow-ups with her and kind of bring that to light, because I think that's so important too.
Yeah, I love that. So I want to shift gears a little bit. We've been talking about kind of the women's side of it, but we deal with retailers a lot, and we deal with the industries that you're supporting and having be part of these communities. So there are learnings, and so I would love to hear from you. Like, what have you seen over the last couple of years about what are the trends? What are these leaders trying to figure out when it comes to the businesses that they're
their
running?
brands?
And what are those struggles that you think people are dealing with right now?
Oh my goodness, where do we start? There are, there's a lot happening in the world right now. I think, look, with the ongoing economic uncertainty, there are more than a few, but here are a couple of topics that they're leaning into. I think supply chain optimization is something that everybody's trying to get their arms around. It continues to be a priority, especially with the shifting global landscape. Everything that's happening in tariffs. A lot of the brands are diversifying their sourcing and nearshoring and building more responsive supply chains to try and reduce and mitigate disruption risks. They're working with their partners more than ever to, really try and solve for that. I think you're seeing a lot of pricing strategy and margin management. Again, with, tariffs just affecting everything, leaders are really reassessing, I should say, their pricing structures. Some of the big boys are obviously going to be able to absorb the extra costs of tariffs and, to try and stay competitive. But, I would say the majority of retailers are, not. And so they're going to, be selectively passing that pricing on to the consumer. And, so how do you deal with that? And I think too, the other thing is they're all having to look at real-time data to make that dynamic pricing happen, right? Whether it's daily, weekly, it's just everything in real time, which is really, really challenging. You're constantly adapting to that.
To
We
stay
had one
ahead
of
of it,
our we had one of our clients that we typically do we do their catalog, I don't know, a couple of times a year, 3 times a year or something, and they just completely didn't do one right now because the pricing was fluctuating so much. They were like, we don't even know what pricing to put.
Exactly.
We don't know
in
what
our
to put
pieces.
in.
Yeah, so they were like, we just are gonna wait for the next run before we even do anything because it was so volatile. They didn't know what direction to go.
Well, I can tell you, so we had our Women in Retail Leadership Summit in April, at the end of April. And, we, of course, tariffs was,
a big topic,
a big part of the discussion, and particularly for the C-suites. And by the end of the 3-day conference, it had changed. So everything that we had just talked about, the navigating what they were, kind of going. So now they're having to do plan A, plan B, plan C, and forecasting is really, really hard.
Yeah.
And I think that's just going to continue, to be challenging. I mean, and then of course there's, the technology side of it. I mean, personalization powered by AI is a must-have. It's not a like, hey, let me learn about this, AI thing. I mean, it's in their everyday lives, and it's just going to continue to, get more sophisticated and intelligent. They're using it for personalized promos, product recommendations, marketing messaging, obviously, and they're, trying to utilize it to help create more one-to-one experiences, which of course, hopefully will both boost loyalty and drive more conversions. And then just a couple others, to mention that they're looking at is obviously loss prevention and data security. That's been an issue for quite a while, continues to be. I think they're all looking at, if they have a store footprint, right sizing those, and kind of analyzing their physical presence. Do they scale back? Do they invest more? Do the D2Cs, test in pop-up shops and collaborations? All of that is being evaluated. And then I think just navigating the cautious consumer, in this environment, and really trying to understand, how shoppers are being more selective in their spending. And so it's forcing these brands to, I think, become laser focused on showcasing who they are, what do they stand for, what's their value, how can they differentiate their experiences. All of that is being looked at on a regular basis. So it's a lot. It's definitely a challenging year for
I'm
sure.
gonna pick on Kim really quick because she just attended an event called MEG, which is Marketing Executive Group, which is part of the National Restaurant Association, but focused strictly on marketers. And hearing you talk about what the retailers are talking, so similar to the dining industry, which is again one and the same, but the loyalty and
the loyalty, differentiation, looking for value, making those connections with consumers, the role of even personalized experiences through AI, through messaging, building, loyalty programs. We're looking at loyalty programs, even and how they're executed, and kind of a renewed focus on that and their role, and really figuring out ways to build experiences that want to drive in person, in store, in restaurant, traffic. We online is fantastic. It's part of, our culture and who we are, but really making that connection, that in-person connection with that customer or guest. And like I always joke about butts and seats. Like we want you to come out, we want you to experience our brand. I want to be able to say, hey Betsy, welcome back.
I totally agree. I think digital is going to keep growing, but
Yeah.
it's not going to be at the expense of the physical stores. I think, e-commerce and mobile shopping, it'll continue to expand, but brick and mortar isn't going away. It's just
Right.
changing. They're having to your point, Kim, reimagine their stores as experience centers,
Yes,
right? And
yeah.
what does that look like? It's kind of, the future of stores is less about transactions and more about connection and service and brand immersion, and they're creating their own communities.
Communities, yeah, because
Yeah.
the online can give you the transaction, but it's not going to give you the experience or the connection.
Exactly.
We're getting ready to do our Glimpse event, which is just kind of a thought leadership conversation, but in late July, and it's exactly about what you just said, Jen, about
Yeah.
the in-store, and it's now about the connection and the immersive emotional connection that you have with the brand, and how our
Yep.
brand's trying to execute that. Still
Yep.
incorporating digital even in store, but how do
Yes.
you now create these moments and that draw people in and that make them want to become a part of the brand? So that's the whole conversation that we're having
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
Glimpse in July.
I think I love that, and I think there's such a need for those types of conversations. I also think too, the sustainability piece, and
Yeah.
their values are going to help shape brand loyalty. You're seeing customers, especially the younger generations. I mean, they're increasingly choosing brands that align with their personal values. And that's not going away. So whether it's they're concerned with eco-conscious sourcing or inclusive branding or whatever their values are. I think
Yeah.
retailers are going to have to, walk the talk, right? Like, I don't think that sustainability is going to be just a nice to have as it kind of has been, this past decade even. I think it's going to be a competitor differentiator.
Well, we were even talking on another episode of Colorbar, and part of it also is how do you rethink sustainability
Yes.
in retail, when we were talking about more like displays and things like that, but rethinking the approach to sustainability. And yes, it's sourcing, and yes, it's products, but are there other ways to reuse, recycle, repurpose materials that build out these experiences, in the stores or for the brands once you're in there. So that was interesting too. Like, it's definitely here. It's to your point, Jen, yeah, definitely with generations and aligning from a philosophical, who you are, what you believe in type of thing. And then brands, I think, rethinking what that means as far as their culture is concerned, and just re-looking at how we can do things, potentially differently.
Yep.
Or a creative different way.
So
I'm curious, Kim, can I ask you a question from the conference that you were at? Were they talking about workforce instability and the challenge of hiring hourly workers?
Workforce is always usually somewhat of a topic as far
Yeah.
as hiring, as far as hiring, turnover in the workforce,
Yeah.
training, and also like the brand. So you want to kind of grow employees from within to be part of that brand, the continued brand experience, and
Career
to really,
pathing and that kind
yeah,
of thing.
and to kind of
Yeah.
continue to focus on that as and to try and reduce, because restaurants have a lot of churn in,
Yep.
in them. So trying to minimize that, looking at, cultures, what they can do, growing from within, is a big topic.
Yeah, I think we saw that. I mean, it's across retail, and we heard that last week in the travel sector. I think especially with hiring hourly workers, it's really challenging because it's not just about pay anymore. I mean, it is. They're trying to be as competitive as they possibly can, but it's also about to your point, Kim, the training, the career pathing, company values, all of it. So I think that's another real sticking point this year that both the retail and travel companies are really challenged with.
Well, and the hard part, well, not hard part, but the important part too is like all those hourly, employees or whatnot. Like, we've even had episodes where we've talked about our first jobs in retail. I mean, you are like you are the front line of defense for that brand. I mean, you are the first impression, you are that ambassador for that shopper or that guest when they come in. And, really, so it is a much bigger job than I think sometimes people think, but you're the first person, you are the first impression.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sometimes.
Keeping those folks engaged.
Yes.
And I completely agree.
Well, young talent is just a big conversation, period. Like everything that you just said about the hourly worker, we're thinking about it as well in an industry that, some young talent are like, print, like, is that even going to be a thing?
Right.
But it isn't.
How do you look at that then? How do you?
You know what? It's all the things that you just said.
Yeah.
It is, what is our culture?
Yeah.
What is their career path? What else are we bringing them from even we just brought on two wonderful young women just accepted to join Sandy. It was very interesting, the conversations that we were having through the interviewing process and some of their questions that came back, and it was, what are your thoughts on continued education, and what do you guys do to support that? And there's a young woman that works with us now, and she just gave us feedback on, she's like, I want to be able to figure out a way to cross-pollinate between us and the generation ahead of us, because I think we can teach them things, but they can also teach us, and we don't do a good job of that.
Mentorship, we talk about that quite a bit. My gosh, it's so true.
Yes.
There's so much to be learned. I mean, my gosh, my kids teach me, things on
Yes.
the technology side. It sounds like I'm 100 years old, but that is the beauty of reverse mentorship. I think it's so important.
Yeah. So, we're thinking about and how do we even just create an environment? Now there's the whole remote versus coming to an office. And so everybody's trying to get people to come back in office, but
Yeah.
some generations are kind of used to, they don't really want to. And so how do we create an environment in our facilities that are cool enough and that make them want to come into the office, and that doesn't
Yes.
feel like this manufacturing organization, So, there's a lot of factors that we're having to really think through. But I think, I say this a lot, it'll level us up. Like, I'm really excited for it to level us up and get us out of the old way of thinking about how we need to manage our businesses.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I think too, you brought up a really good point that, we talk about in our events, like, when you're making that next move in your career, or even if you're, at your company and looking to, learn and grow, always ask for, learning and development budget, and see what the company will invest, for you. Is it a career coach, executive career coach? Is it a training of some kind, that you're interested in learning more? Is it on you to go out and find mentors, in the space that are doing cool things that you just want to have a coffee with and learn from, or whatever the case is. But I think also advocating, for yourself and saying like, hey, I want you to continue to invest in me, and the leaders that are out there, how can you earmark budgets to develop those leaders? And it doesn't have to be a gazillion dollars. You can come up, even joining an organization, whether it's ours or something else, can be cost, minimal. So I think, but just, continuing to invest in your people and having them advocate for that, that's going to level everybody up.
One of the things that I love seeing, because I remember me growing up and my career changing, I had no idea how to negotiate. I had no idea to
100%.
ask for something from me. Like, that just wasn't.
Well, that's not, I'm not sure that's what we did. Did we do that?
No, I know I didn't.
I know I didn't.
I wish. And
I don't even know if I would have thought to do that.
Right.
No, and that's what I was about to say. I love seeing that they now are advocating for themselves and asking and talking about learning from them. I wish I would have known that years and years ago. But I do love that they have finally. I don't know if somebody's teaching it or if they've just found their voices quicker than we did or something. But I think it's important and something we all need to consider as the organizations as we lead them. I know I'm already looking forward to the event that you have coming up in New York. for women in retail
that's
that I
right.
think
Yeah,
we're
you're
going to
gonna
be
on
able to
the,
join.
yeah, you experience the travel side now. You get
Yes,
to
now I get to
experience
come to the
side.
retail side, but talk a little bit what lies ahead for 2025 and beyond for the organization's events that are coming up.
Yeah. So in second half, we have a slew of events coming up. On the retail side, we have Women in Retail on the Road events, where we take over, a city. We'll be in New York, LA, Chicago, Columbus, and Seattle. So kind of mini summits, again.
Are you going to all of those?
Yeah.
Oh, girl.
The road show of the century.
Don't tell
let
her
me
your
tell ya.
luggage story.
I will not. Yeah. It was a whole thing the last 2
They're
days.
so fun, and they're they're on the boutique side of the house. So again, our Women in Retail Summit was about 700 execs. The largest one would be in New York, about 250 execs. Some of our smaller cities would be even 75 execs. But it's just a great way to gather the community and, carve out a half day or a full day to, come and get some inspiration and find out what's happening in the retail industry and, connect with your peers. And then on the travel and hospitality side, we also have a couple events happening in Chicago, Miami, and New York as well, where we'll gather those communities too. So, again, just trying to kind of keep that connective tissue all year round. And then we also have, and these are member-led for our organizations, we have member meetups. And, sometimes the community's getting together to go for drinks. They need a, gosh darn drink for work. Or sometimes they're
people.
going for hikes. Yeah, exactly. Or sometimes they're going for hikes. Or sometimes we'll do a store takeover. Like we're going to take over the Love Shack Fancy store in New York for a meetup next week
Fun.
on the
That's
retail
very fun.
side. So, and those are member led and those are really fun, regional type of events happening across the country too. So lots going on. It's always fun to see our community gather.
So before we go, if other women leaders are interested in learning more or joining, where should we take them? And we'll populate this for the video portion. We'll put it on the bottom of the screen.
But so you can find more information at womeninretail.com or womenleadingtravelandhospitality.com.
Love it.
Yeah, we'd love to chat with
great.
you and connect.
Well, this has been amazing. Again, the event last week was really special for me. So from
so glad.
someone that has experienced it, go to those websites and learn more and join us. And I can't wait to see you in New York very soon. Hopefully
well,
Kim
thank
can
you
join
for-
us.
Yes.
Yeah.
That
yeah.
would be fun.
And this, I love the
Thank you so much.
conversation.
Yeah,
Like I love
Kim, you have
just,
to come.
Yeah, I would love to come. Definitely.
I love the conversation and just the complexities of all that's going on and that we have each other to lean on means a lot. So thank you.
well,
And thank you for all the people that you've already connected us with and that you've already
Yes.
been such a great
Support.
support of Sandy and we appreciate it.
Absolutely. I am happy to help. And thank you for having me and,
goodness.
just giving a voice to these communities. It's so meaningful to us. And we so appreciate you as a partner.
Well, we appreciate you. Get some rest before the road show.
That's right.
Because
All
that
right,
makes me
sounds
tired
good.
just talking about it. And I'll see you soon.
All right.
All
Thank
right.
you.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
ladies.